Okay, so let's drop and create, which is good. We've all had some practice with that now. So we've seen the select statement. There's more to it than this, but these are the basics we're going to work with for the next little while. When we say select, okay, actually the only keyword that is truly required is the word select, and then some expression after it. You can select and have an expression like 2 times 3, and it'll return the result. Things like that. But it's usually we use it to select data from a table or more tables later on when we have multiple tables to work with, right? So the general idea is we're going to select. The fancy word for this is the projection. The field 1, field 2, that list of fields. So as I said, you can list 1 or more fields. The order, notice I mixed it up. Field 3 comes before field 2. I thought of the idea because of my earlier boo-boo, having 2 field 1s. Anyway, you can list them in whatever order you want them to appear in the output. So if you want field 3 to come before field 2, you just list it that way in the projection, or the select clause, as we sometimes refer to it. Now, of course, you can always use that short form, just a little asterisk or star. It means all or everything, right? Typically, though, in production environments, we don't use star. It's great while we're just playing around. Obviously, I don't have to remember all the names of the fields if you got a lot of them and so on, right? But it's a little dangerous as designs change over time, and there might be new fields there that you weren't expecting and so on. If you say star, you're going to get whatever, right? Whereas if you name the fields, if you want them for a particular purpose, then you know exactly what you're getting what you ask for, right? So then the next thing we say is from. Now this can all be on one line, but we usually spread it out this way to make it easier to read. So the from clause, right now we only have 1 table, right? Later on we'll learn about how we can actually pull data from across tables and how they have to relate to each other in a certain way. It gets a little more complicated, but for now we'll just say from table, whatever table we're drawing data or selecting data from. The where clause comes next, and order by is always last. Where, now these are all optional, as I said, except for select. So we don't have to have a where. If we do, if this is the projection, the select is the projection, the where clause is the restriction. Most people would think of it in terms of a filter, right? Basically, we write some expression that has to resolve to true or false. A Boolean, a logical expression, right? If the expression involves, obviously it usually involves data coming from the fields, then as you process through the records in the table, basically you examine each record, think of it as a candidate. And you apply whatever logical test you put here, and if the data for this row in the record in the table passes and is true according to your test, maybe you're testing that there's temperature data, and you just want to see records for days where the temperature was above 20 degrees, right? That's your Boolean test. Temperature above, greater than, or equal to 20 degrees. Well, then as it examines each candidate record, it sees, okay, the temperature on this day was above 20. If it returns true, then it's included in the result set. If it's false, then it's left out. It's restricted. Okay? It's filtered out, you might say. So that's what the where clause is. It can be quite a complicated test with ands and ors and all kinds of comparisons and so on. But basically, it just has to resolve to true or false in the end, right? The order by clause is just to sort the data in a given order. Again, it's not even needed. Maybe you don't care. Okay, it'll just come in whatever order it comes. But if you want it specifically by 1 field first, let me use an example. If you're listing people's names, often you'll put it alphabetically by the last name first, right? So all the Joneses are together, right? And then by the first name afterwards. So if there are a bunch of people with the same last name, then in that sort of subgroup, you can quickly see with your eye, okay, well, they're in order by the first name. Makes it easy to find them, right? So you can add as many fields to the order by clause as you have in your projection. And in fact, they don't even have to be in the projection. You can order by something as long as it's in the table, okay? It doesn't even have to be data you're showing. You can still order by it, right? And by the way, as it says, ascending by default, so alphabetically, numerically, by date, it'll figure out what ascending means on the context of what kind of an animal you have in your field. If it's a number, okay, it'll start from small numbers and go up to big numbers, right? Dates, it'll go historically, things like that. But you can always say DESC after you mention a field to reverse the order on that one field. Okay, descending is a short form for descending. You'll see in SQL a lot of the time you can use the first 4 letters of commands. Don't do it with the actual these commands here, but with other commands you can just use the first 4 letters as a short form. You can write out the whole word descending if you want, but why bother, right? So that's basically the simplified form of the select statement we're going to start off with, right? So we've done select star from table already. Lots of people have done that. I've got some practice queries up here that I just downloaded into Management Studio. So let me bring Management Studio over here. Now these were all written. The idea is these are questions that we're going to ask together, right? I'll lead you through this to some degree and maybe assign a few of them for you to do, right? Show all the details about our employee. This is using the employee table we created the other day. So to complete this, you'll have to have that table with the data in place. Everyone should still have it unless you dropped it for some reason, right? But I think we should be good. Now, you know what I do? This is a bit of a tip. Whenever I come to work on these queries, one of the first things I'll do is right at the top sometimes is I'm going to put a select star from. So I can see the data, right? To help me understand it again, familiarize myself with it. So select, and this I'll often put on one line just to save screen space. From, and see my IntelliSense, I still have my employee table. Good. Okay, so I'll highlight that and execute, right? So just zooming for the back of the room. You can see here I have the employee number, first name, last name, title, salary. Yeah, we remember this, right? I'll zoom out a little bit. Okay. So that's basically the data I have. So when I think about the questions that we're going to ask, right? Show all of the details, so basically all the fields about our employee Cliffy Patty. Well, I mean, sure, it's true. I could just compare the first name to see if it matches this, or the last name. Because I have such a small amount of sample data, you know, I'm going to find the record quite easily. But we should actually do both comparisons. So to break this down, I'll do it very formally. Select. I can return all the columns for now, right? Just to save me typing them all out at this point. Star from employee where, so here I have to write a Boolean expression. I could put it all in brackets. Some people like to use lots of brackets to make it clear. Some people find it confusing and it clutters the screen. I think I'll for now leave out the brackets. I'll just say, so I have to identify this one record, not by the primary key. I mean, I could cheat. I could look and see, oh, look at that. Cliffy Patty is employee number 777, right? I could say where emp number. Notice that the IntelliSense gives me the fields to work with. Equals 777. And if I highlight that, there we go. I've answered the question, but I cheated. Okay. This would not be a good answer on a test, by the way. We have to go by the information we've been given. Okay. We can't assume that I can peer into the data and know what that is. So this is the wrong way to answer the question correctly. You know what I mean, right? So it would be EMP last or first, doesn't matter which one of these I do. First equals. Now strings in SQL, okay, they have to be delimited with single quotes, not double, single quotes. So the first name is Cliffy. Okay, and that would actually work because there's no other there's no people the same, two people the same first name. But to be completely perfect in our answer, we would want to say and, right? Because both have to be true. The first name has to match and the last name. Now often we'll put the and the ors and so on a separate line as well. So I can come down, oops, I didn't mean to put that. And some people put it at the left. I like to indent it a little bit. And EMP last equals quote, quote, Patty. Okay, so that should show all the details about our employee Cliffy Patty. I'll highlight that, execute. The output didn't change from my earlier answer because it did return the results, but this is the correct way based on the information we're given and asked to use as the filter or restriction criteria. This is the correct way to answer that question. Okay? Any questions about that one before we go on?
Just a small question. For those of us who aren't getting a direct link into our employee file that we have from before, why would it not be doing it? Is it probably because it's not?
Okay, so basically we have our select. Now we're given specific columns to put in the projection or the output of the query. We want to see the EMP number. Oh, I'm not getting IntelliSense because I haven't put from yet. So I think I mentioned that little trick. If I leave it like that, even without putting a field, and come down and put the from, okay, then it can, the IntelliSense can tell me if I have the correct field names, right? We want to show the employee number, and we want to have the name. Well, do we want to do it first name, last name? The simplest way to concatenate is with the plus sign, right? So I can go EMP number, or first.
Wait, why don't you have a star?
Because I'm giving specific output. I'm name, because the question asks for the employee number and the name. That's it, nothing more. Okay? So this is the projection I'm asked for, is the first concatenated or added to a space. Otherwise it'll just be mushed together, right? We won't be able to tell where the one name ends and the other starts, and then the last name. That would be one simple concatenated version of the programmer's name. Now, one thing I want to emphasize, you can run these, you don't have to wait till you're all done. Feel free to experiment and see what you've got so far as you add each little bit to solving the query question, right? So I can highlight this and run it, and oh, what do I see? I see all the employees, so there's no restriction yet, okay? But I'm seeing the employee number, and it looks like it's putting the name from the different parts together correctly. I have the first and last name, but notice this, it says no column name. That's probably not very good, right? Because I should have some column name provided. The reason why there is one is this technically doesn't exist in the table, right? This is an expression. It's not a field. So what we can do is we can give this expression an alias with the keyword as. And aliases are great because we'll see we can even use them later on in things like order by clauses and so on, right? So I'll maybe just call it employee. Oh, programmers. Okay, name of, I don't know, whatever. Program, no, I'll just say as employee. The fact that it's the same name as the table is not a problem because it can tell the difference between an alias for a field and the table. Right? So just to run that now, the only change I'll see in the output in the results pane is the column now has a title, employee. So the employee number and the employee, right? Okay, now, of the name of programmers who earn more than $100,000. So our where clause, well, let's do the money first, right? Just for the fun of it. So where EMP salary is greater than 100,000. You might be tempted to throw a comma, right, in the thousand separator position, but don't, okay? Because it won't be able to parse and understand that properly. So write your numbers without the comma separators in the thousands, and you should be fine. Do I have the right number of zeros? Yeah, 100,000. Okay, let me execute that. Oh, look at that. Who's the highest paid programmer here? Yeah, no. Oh, who made up this sample data anyway? I don't know. Okay. Don't believe everything you read, okay? All right. Now, I guess that's good enough. It says they have programmers, so that does imply to me, because if you remember, we go back to select star from employee for a second, right? We have job titles here, and only certain people are programmers. Now, there's only one employee making more than that $100,000 figure anyway, so adding the other restriction won't really help. But in all truth, then, to answer the question properly, we should probably have and, right? That the emp title, which is the job title, equals programmer. Okay. Notice it's not happy until I get the quotes delimiting the string. Now the output won't be different from the last time I ran this select. It's still the same employee, right? Because they happen to also be a programmer. Okay. But if you had thousands of employees in this table, then you know you've narrowed down and answered the question as it was given, completely correctly, right? Okay, so that's a couple examples there of using the where clause for different restrictions. We'll show you later on the other approaches to concatenating, but this clearly works as long as they're strings, data types, and so on. Oh, between, maybe I'll help you with this one. And yeah, then I'll leave number 4 and 5 for you to do, but I'll show you the number 3 with between. So I'm going to start with a bit of this because I can reuse some of this code, right? So for number 3, make some more screen space here, show all the details. Okay, so we're doing actually a select star again, and we need this. Select star from employee who earned between and were hired between, right? So we have two different betweens. Now there's more than one way you can write these. You can actually say greater than the smaller value and less than the bigger value. But that makes a big long expression. Fortunately, SQL supports an actual keyword called between for comparisons. Okay? So all the data for employees where the salary, EMP salary, is between. I'm putting it in caps not because it needs to be, but just to make it stand out. Between 50,000 and 75,000. Okay, so let's just run that much so far, see what we get. So there are 4, count them, 4 employees whose salary is between 50 and 75,000. Okay, looking at the hired dates, 91, 89, 90, 96. Okay, so there's some here that definitely won't be in this range. And whenever you're going to further restrict, okay, the projection, you always use and, right? Because that's an additional restriction that you're adding to it. Now, some people at this stage would like to use brackets. I'm going to just show you that you don't have to use the keyword between. It's just easier. But I can do it the hard way if I want to. I can say and the EMP start is greater than or equal to. Now dates, it might seem strange, but we put them in quotes just like we do with strings. The only thing that doesn't go in quotes are numbers. Everything else is in quotes, single quotes. So 1990, well, I can copy and paste a little bit here, save me some pain. Oh. Okay, so I just want to compare and contrast. How do you like that for an instructional term? The difference between saying between, where we only have to mention the field once, and between the two values. By the way, you should always put the smallest value first, okay, and then the bigger value second when you're using the keyword between. The order I mentioned these doesn't matter. It's just going to compare them each. So obviously this is a lot more work, right? Plus you have to remember that the crocodile's mouth goes this way for greater thans and all that, you know. Oh yeah, I see people rolling their eyes around the room, right? So all that has to be a part of it when you do it sort of the long old-fashioned way as well. But they both work, right? The reason why I put this in brackets, because, you know, the and, I didn't want to cause confusion to myself. The system would work fine without the brackets. It's smart enough to know what I'm doing here. But I want to make sure that I have it correctly, so it's easier to read that way and see that now I only have 2 employees, that the salary is between the specified range and the hire dates are between the 2 dates that we gave them. Okay, so like there's a chance to see 2 different ways of writing in between. And obviously with these restrictions, you know, you can keep on adding. If you want to expand from, you know, you can use the or instead of the and keyword and build up these logical expressions. Everyone loves logical expressions, right? They're your favorites. They're my favorites. I love logic. Yes, question?
Why can't you use between for employee start?
For the start date? Good. I just wanted to show you the 2 different approaches so you could decide yourself which one you want to use. I'd go with between if I was you. Okay, so I'll leave the other 2 for you to do, and I can come around and let you know if... Right?
I just want to clarify that question. So the second portion, you could have put between and just the straight dates the same way?
Yeah, I could have done it like this. I could have just said between. I could spell it right. Between this date and.
And you didn't have to mention it? Okay.
Right?
And quotations are never required for numbers?
That's right. Numbers don't have quotes, but dates and strings do.
Okay.
Or character strings, you know. And this should give me the exact same output I just had, and it does. Okay. So whether you like to use the keyword between or not, it's entirely up to you, but obviously it's a little easier. I just want to make sure people understand the concept. It's the same. Okay, so number 4 and 5, if you have a few minutes left, feel free to get a start on them or consider them homework. Try to do these on your own. Okay. I didn't show you order by, but I think I've explained it earlier, right? Just list the columns that you want, and then unless you want them in ascending order, just put DESC after the column name. So try to work that out on your own. Plus, don't forget, we have lots of videos here. So you should have already watched all of these, right? I would have mentioned on Monday, but I forgot to put it in my announcement. So here are some little videos on the select keyword, okay, ordering columns, filtering columns, concatenating, okay, formatting output, right? So try to watch all these before next Monday. And that should definitely give you lots, so you should be able to complete Lab 1C and get that ready to hand in.
Lab C is due